Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, remembering Bill O'Connor. Also, facing Alabama's food crisis. And the 2026 race for governor is actually heating up.
Run, Forrest, run!
Life is like a box of chocolates with a lot of nuts. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR. Welcome.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Haitian migrants who are here legally have been the topic of discussion both nationally recently, and here in Alabama. About a month or so ago, there was a story that came out claiming that there was major concerns in Albertville about Haitian residents. There was even a state senator, Brock Calvin, who suggested that there may even be cannibal gangs in Albertville. Well, all these stories have been proven to be totally foolish nonsense, spurned by any rational person, but accepted by many in the GOP. Contrary to all the hate mongering that we're hearing, Susan, a group got together in Albertville of Hispanics, the white citizens, and Haitians, and had a get together, sort of a celebration and a prayer meeting, and a community gathering for unity, as reported first by AL.com.
Mm-hmm.
It was very inspirational.
It was, and you know, I think people are really sick of the fear mongering. I mean, it's got, and with up here in our area of Alabama, we have a lot of migrants because we need them for like on Sand Mountain, we have the chicken plants and all of that, and we need those workers. In fact, I saw a report just a couple of days ago that said migrant workers are responsible for 29% of last year's GDP. And we feel that here in this area of Alabama. And so, you know, we welcome them to our community.
Yeah, and Josh, there hadn't been any incidents of any problems up on Sand Mountain or in Athens, Sylacauga. They're made up because of fear mongering. You wrote a column or a report recently that highlighted this sort of pervasive hate of anyone different, especially immigrants, even who are here legally.
They're eating the dogs, Bill. They're eating the dogs. I mean, listen, you know, I said in the column that I wrote that I loathe Nazi comparisons. I think they're often lazy, that they're misapplied, and it underscore, you know, it fails to capture the horrors of the Nazi party. But in this particular instance, what is happening here is right out of that playbook. Okay, it's right out of the playbook of the Nazis, of the KKK, of all the racist things that have gone on in this country for generations now, targeted towards immigrants of all shapes and sizes. Okay, you know, from the Italians to the Irish to the Hispanics to the Asians. We've done this over and over, and you've heard it. You've heard about the Hispanic restaurants. Oh, they're serving the cats and the dogs. The Asian restaurants are serving, you know, and it's all of these same sorts of things, these hateful things that people use to attack folks who are a little bit different than them, who have moved into their communities, because sometimes it benefits some people. Some people are just naturally hateful individuals, and others are easily scared. And you know, if you are a politician, that it's easy to control people who are easily scared. Yeah. Okay, and this is exactly what this is about. That's all it's for. That's the reason why in a recent debate, a certain politician continued to come back to this topic because they don't have anything of substance to add to a debate. So they come back to this insane fear mongering, using these folks as scapegoats, when we have, our American people have invited them here to do jobs that benefit us. Okay.
Right.
They've done that, and now we're sitting idly by and watching these folks be attacked for doing nothing more than following the law, coming to do a job, and trying to achieve the American dream, which is something we used to pitch for people to come here.
Yeah, and that's very true. And I think that you make a very good point, Susan. If you took migrants out of the workforce, we would go through one of the worst recessions that has ever hit this country, because they do the jobs that work at chicken plants. They do a lot of the construction work. They do some of the hard labor that people don't want to do. And they do it well, and they do it with pride, because they want to be Americans, just like, many families have come here. And the problem is they don't look like white America.
Right.
And they have different cultural rituals and all those things. It's just all nonsense. I want to skip on to this next thing. Troy University, Dr. Jack Hawkins, who we talked about last week, great guy. He served in Vietnam as a Marine, did 2 tours of duty over there. They're having an event called Beyond the War. It's Sunday, September 29th at 3 p.m. at the Davis Theater in Montgomery. This is a documentary about reconciliation between the United States and Vietnam. And it's about, all those bridges that have been built and the healing that has taken place. The very thing we're kind of talking about with immigrants.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. This event is open and free to the public. All can attend. We've got to have some special speakers, including Jack McManus, president of Vietnam Veterans of America, and Captain Gary Michael Rose, Medal of Honor recipient.
Josh, we've always had a tradition in this country. We can go to war with people. Germany, Japan, we've gone to war with those places, and then we reconcile. That is a very American thing. It is not what dictators do. It's what the American people want. They want to reconcile.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to remember the reason why we typically go or enter into these wars or into these conflicts, or what a policing action, I think some of them are called, in the first place. And most of the time it's to spread democracy. And you can very rarely force a belief system on somebody. They have to see it and accept it for themselves. And I think that's one of the things that to build that bridge that you're talking about, you have to go back in and extend the olive branch and see what we can do to help folks get to that level.
Well, one thing I want to add there is Dr. Jack Hawkins that's behind all of this, who participated in that war. And this is like a coming together of him and his enemies.
Oh, yeah, very much so. And he's done amazing work. And we want to heartily support this event. Sunday, is it Sunday the 29th?
I believe so.
At 3 o'clock at Davis Theater. You can go to the Troy.
I'll see you there.
Troy website and get information on that. And I do need to say that no cats were harmed during the taping of this segment. We'll be right back.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. We're basically a year out before people start running for office here in Alabama. Our next big elections are in 2026. But it's never too early to speculate, because that's what pundits and politicians do all the time. They sit around their virtual campfires, drinking coffee and eating beans and spewing gossip about who's going to run and who's not going to run. Now, I can say this election we've got right here is like a snowball on fire running down to the streets of hell. We don't know where it's going. And we don't know what's going on with the election in 2026. But Josh, you talked to some big-time insiders who you gave anonymity to speak their mind, and they gave you an earful of information about who might be running, who's ahead, and who should stay home.
Yeah. I don't know if, like you said, this is all and I made it clear. This is all speculation. This is all folks. They understand where things are, and they're trying to read the tea leaves. And to be fair, they're also lining up work. Yeah. This is what they do for a living. This is how they pay their mortgages and electric bills and whatnot. And this is what they do. And so this is the time when they start lining up. This is when the teams are put together, the NDAs get signed, and everybody starts to come together. And so that's what they're basing a lot of their talk on, is they've gone around and had these discussions with some of the people who are looking at running for office. And, I think the big one is obviously, actually, I think there are two big races here that are going to determine where a lot of the bigger names kind of go and how this thing shakes out. And that's, of course, the governor's race and the U.S. Senate race. Right. And I think a lot of people are saying U.S. Senate race. I was very surprised when they told me that Tommy Tuberville, none of these folks, to a person, and I didn't discuss what other people had said to me with anyone else. And because I wanted their natural reaction, I wanted to get their opinion on what was going on. And to a person, each one of them independently said they did not believe that Tommy Tuberville was going to run for Senate again. Now, none of them were, I think that when some folks read that, they took it to mean, well, Tuberville's unpopular and he's getting pushed out. That's not what he did. Tuberville will run for U.S. Senate. He's going to win the U.S. Senate seat. Yeah. Okay, let's just be clear about that. He would win this U.S. Senate seat again if he ran again. But I think they have gotten the impression, either from him or from folks on his staff, that he may not want to do this again. Yeah. He may not want another 6-year term in the Senate. And he has at least expressed some interest in running for governor. He has expressed some interest in being part of a potential Trump cabinet, I believe, if that were to shake out, or possibly just going into some sort of private sector job. Well, and so, I think that will determine a lot on who goes where. If Tuberville jumps into that governor's race and he falls out of the U.S. Senate seat, then I think you're looking at a pretty attractive position for a lot of folks who may otherwise run for governor. They may skip over it and go U.S. Senate. Now, and look, I don't mean to be mean to Tommy Tuberville, who is the most disliked senator in the U.S. Senate. But which is hard to imagine when you've got Ted Cruz and people like that there. But they just think he's lazy and does harmful things. But he doesn't want to work that hard. And he thinks that maybe running for governor would be a lot easier. He's still going to have to live in Alabama. But
he'll have to buy a house here.
He'd have to buy a house here, which he can do. He's very wealthy. He made a lot of money on the stock market since he's been a senator. So, Josh, let me just be clear here. If Tommy Tuberville decides to leave the Senate and run for governor, he would go up against Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth, who at present everyone believes is the front runner. Is that correct? Yeah. Well, I think so. I think you would then have to look at that U.S. Senate seat would probably become fairly attractive to Ainsworth. Oh, would it?
I would think so, and I would think some of the folks that have worked on his campaigns previously have got some experience, working at senatorial campaigns and things. So maybe that becomes an avenue that he explores. I know he wants to be governor, and so maybe it doesn't matter. He certainly, I think, the thing that hurts Ainsworth at that point is going to be the name ID. With Tuberville, Tuberville's been this U.S. senator. I think he jumps into that race, and you can't buy the kind of name ID that he has coming in, and so that causes a problem. Plus, Tuberville will have a pretty hefty amount of cash to come in and do that as well and compete.
I don't think he can outraise Will, but
no, not at all.
Here's the problem that I see, and Susan, you probably know this better than anyone. Tommy Tuberville was not vetted when he ran for Senate.
Mm-hmm.
There was no opposition research.
No.
There was no digging into who he was and what he had done. It just didn't occur. And so once he starts running for governor, people like you
Mm-hmm.
are going to dig in and know more about his life than anybody has ever imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he can stand up to the scrutiny. I really don't.
I don't think so either, because just your basic LexisNexis will show you his address history, his voter status, all of those. I mean, and so when we start digging in, that's just going to be the first level. I can't imagine what's under that.
Well, I mean, Josh, we're talking about things like stock trades and the fact that he, his veterans history that he's lied about. There's all kinds of problems he would have. But again, you still have Steve Marshall. Where's he going? Tommy Battle says that there are people around Tommy Battle said he might want to run. There's Rick Pate who might want to run.
And don't forget Lindy Blanchard. I bet she'll be back in this race.
Lindy Blanchard got a lot of money. She could run. And I think if you're hearing that if Caroline Dobson doesn't win her congressional seat, she will run for governor, potentially.
Yeah, I think that she's certainly setting up a future political career with what she's been able to do, the amount of money and time and effort that she's put into this race in the 2nd congressional district. I think has impressed a lot of people, and I think that she has a spot in politics going forward. I know what you're saying about Tuberville. He did run against Jeff Sessions, and that campaign seemed to be a little lazy in what they kind of what they went after Tuberville with at that point. But I don't know. I tend to think, and these folks did too, and this is the reason why I think it is, because these folks who I spoke with said it to me, is that name ID that he has is a huge problem for everybody else who might get into this race.
Okay.
Now, I do think somebody like Caroline Dobson, I also think she could be a huge problem for people in a governor's race because she is pretty clean. There's not a lot known about her. She's got a ton of money to get into this stuff, and people kind of like her.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a Robert Bentley-esque type person to get into the governor's.
Yeah,
Well,
Alabama does love its underdogs.
Well, we've got at least a year before we have to start worrying about this, so we're going to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Today, Montgomery is a safer city. It's time to shift the narrative and take control of our future. We're reopening community centers, remediating blight, and revitalizing neighborhoods across the city. And we're unleashing new opportunities. Over the past year, companies have invested a record-setting $2 billion in Montgomery and created 2,000 jobs. This is a new Montgomery. And together, we're reimagining the possibilities.
As a paramedic, you wouldn't believe the things that we've seen.
I've seen all types of horrible things.
I mean, we're there basically picking up the pieces from your worst day.
Everyone is just driving and not paying attention.
We all have the same goal. All of us want to go home alive and safe and harm nobody else in the process.
Slow down. Be careful. Care about the other people on the road. Don't be the reason that someone else doesn't go home tonight.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. You know, there are few things that depress me more in life than to think about children and poverty, and not only children, but families who suffer from food insecurity. In other words, they do not have enough food to eat. They don't know where their next meal is coming from many, many days. And these are many of them are working poor who just do not have enough food to eat, Susan. And the national average is pretty high, about 5.1. Mm-hmm. But Alabama, the food insecurity among children, families, elderly, is at like 14% plus.
Yeah, and that's even with, the WIC program, the SNAP program, and the school lunch program. We're still at 14%, which shows that, and instead of worrying with all of these other things that the legislature's worrying with, like books and whatever, banning books and so forth, why don't you concentrate on real problems that we have in that, thankfully the speaker this last session figured out, we made him aware that there were children not going to be fed over the summertime, and he took that banner and ran with it and got that program to make sure the children got fed over the week.
The children's food program, yes, over the summer, and he got that passed. That's just a drop in the bucket, though, compared to what these people face year round. Josh, how is it that in a nation that has so much food, and in a state that can grow so much food, that we have so many of our young, our elderly, and our working poor without enough food to eat?
It's almost like it's like we're in a setup for that. It's almost like we got a regressive tax system that punishes some people, and a system that has failed to educate a number of certain communities, and we continue this cycle of poverty over and over again. That's one of our biggest issues here, is we lack that ladder out of poverty. We do a particularly poor job of helping people achieve enough to get themselves out of poverty. And those things come with education. Those things come with job opportunities, and we're not doing it. We're not spreading it around enough in this state to help these people do these things. And then on top of that, we have this this tendency to look down upon folks who need help here, and to think the worst of them. And you hear it all the time about our welfare programs and other programs in this state, where people look down on folks. And when you actually go out and meet people, everybody's pretty much the same. They want a steady job. They want to be able to pay their bills. They want to send their kids to a good school. They want to have some comfort to be able to sleep at night. And they will work and do these things for this stuff. But so many times we're not giving them the opportunities to do that. And I think that's the reason why.
Well, they tried it with the with the grocery tax. It was, we're going to lower your grocery tax to make it more available. And then they put huge stop gaps in there where it actually doesn't work out.
Right. And we've got areas where people have to travel miles and miles and miles and miles just to get food. Mm-hmm. And there's no mobile grocery stores. We have some food banks, but not nearly enough. There needs to be more investment in food banks, maybe more investment in businesses that want to do mobile grocery delivery. I mean, there's things that can be done, policies that can be enacted, but it tends to be what you said, Susan, that we talk about Alabama values, but what could be a more important Alabama value than making sure that our poor children and our elderly and our working families have enough food on the table to eat at night? Josh?
All right, I wanted to go back to something that you were talking about earlier, and we gave Nathaniel Ledbetter credit for coming in and making sure the summer feeding program got done. But right before we talked about it, and listen, I want to be clear, I'm in no way knocking Nathaniel Ledbetter for that. I think that was great work, and I congratulate him on getting it done. But at the same time, we said right before that, they were unaware of this problem.
Yep.
And that is the problem that we have this disconnect between the people we're electing and the folks who need the help the most, who are being hurt the most by the policies that we don't have or the policies that we're not enacting at the ground level. And, the Democrats who are in the state legislature were getting this thing, we're pushing this thing way before they found out about it or whatever. And I'm not saying Democrat, Republican, or whatever. I'm just simply pointing out that most of the Democratic Party at this point is better aligned with the working folks in this state. And I think the Republican Party needs to do a little bit better if they're going to continue gerrymandering as they are in finding folks who are more aligned with those people at the bottom levels of our state economic ladder. Okay. And that right now we've got to help those people, and you're not going to be able to help them unless you know what their problems are. And these folks don't have an idea of what the true problems are.
Well, and I think you're right about that. We did have some sad news this past Tuesday. Bill O'Connor passed away. He was a legend among Alabama strategists, thinkers, policy wonks. This man, Susan, as you and I know, has influenced so much of Alabama's history and its future because of his brilliance. He passed away at 73 years old, and he will surely be missed.